Indians flock to gated communities is for safety, for better infrastructure, walkable roads, parks and sports facilities for kids to play in, all things that were supposed to be provided to you by a local government. Basic urban planning. But it's easier to privatize the problem than expect the government to change.
Hi, quick question. Have you ever had to choose between getting electrocuted or falling into a ditch when you step out of the house? Of course, there's a reason I'm asking you this, and of course, it's going to be tangential because that's usually how things go here. But the reason I'm asking is because when I was coming back home from work today, on a road that's already crowded and congested because, hey, I live in a Muslim ghetto, and B, we're looking forward to monsoon, right? So there's constructions going on everywhere, sewage is being cleaned out, pipes are being restored or repaired, whatever. All of that is happening, and we have just one file to go in and one file to go out of the road, right? So that's the situation we're at. And as I am walking back home in fucking 40 degrees or something in the sweltering heat after having worked for 5-6 hours straight, after waking up at 7 o'clock, I see that the road is essentially blocked. So what I see in front of me is that there is a tiny gap in the road where the construction has happened. So people are walking by crossing over the tiny gap, it's a little bit of a ditch, it's a little bit of a hole, whatever, because the footpath, the very narrow footpath that there is near the shops, is occupied by somebody doing some electrical work at one of the phone boxes with cables and such. So we can't use the footpath because there's electric supply, live electric supply, and we can't walk on the road because it's all dug up, essentially. So there I'm standing on Rakhi Sawant's road with Zara Larson blasting in my ears, and I see that I can't walk straight towards my house using the road because it's basically useless. So I turn left and I see that the footpath is also occupied. Now I don't know what work is going on there, so I asked the guy to move aside so that I can cross, because I'm not about to jump on the road. I'm not opposed to jumping, but still I don't want to do that. I'm tired. So this guy tells me to just cross over like everybody else is doing, and I'm just like, I'm not about to do that. I'm tired, it's hot, I'm on my period, I'm cramping, I'm not about to do this shit. I'm not doing this. You better move your ass because I am not crossing over. And so we are going back and forth because I'm arguing with this guy, and I'm like, why couldn't you have done this before? Pehle karna chahiye tha, abhi kyun karna hai, kaise jayenge log, da da da. And I'm also listening to music, so in that moment it's going a little bit like this. Basically. So there's no way in hell I'm bunny hopping in 3-inch heels just to get home. And if I have to, there's absolutely no way in hell I'm going down without a fight. And it's not because I can't hop in heels, it's because I don't want to and I'm pissed off. So yeah, I'm not about to bunny hop in 3-inch heels because I need to get home. So I tell the guy that I am not going from there. But in this moment, as we're having this heated back and forth, this man says something that makes me pause. It truly flips a switch in my head. I am so taken aback by what he says that I'm just like, oh wait, what? So he tells me, and his argument is that अगर आप वहां से कूद के गए तो सिर्फ गिरोगे, यहाँ से जाओगे तो शॉक लग सकता है. And I was like, oh. So yeah, I immediately think of, wow, these are the choices that we have to make every time we get out of the house. And we have just it was the normalcy and the nonchalance with which he said that to me, that I was like, okay, we've just accepted this as normal. Why have we accepted this as normal? Why is we're really living like this? Then of course I immediately thought of this video that I had seen just yesterday, the video that I have stitched in the beginning, where this person is talking about gated communities and how it's a failure of governance. And there were some really interesting comments that were left under that video that I really wanted to address. So that's why we're here. The first kind of comments that I'm seeing under that video are my favorite kind, the type that conflates the personal and individual with the systemic and structural. So people are like, some people are like, oh yeah, the government can give us, possibly give us amenities like public parks and public spaces, but then people don't have civic sense, and then they have a responsibility to make sure they're clean and all of that. And I'm just like, hold up. Comments like this, I agree with you, but what, people don't have responsibility. People don't, clean up after themselves. What to do? But what if governments do create parks? What will people do? Expecting people to fulfill their hypothetical responsibility before the government even does their job of providing basic amenities to people is such a fucking cope. Oh my god. And if you really think about it, the reason these places are so dirty and not clean at all is because there are no sanitation facilities there. There's no proper dustbins, there's no washrooms in or around public spaces for people to use. There is no way that people can actually keep these spaces clean. And guess whose fault is that? मैं घर से डस्टबिन लेके तो निकलूंगी नहीं. It's the government's responsibility to provide me with these, right? So essentially what you've done is just prove the dude's point. He's right. The government need to do their job first. Another thing that stands out to me is the framing, even if the government were to do this, as if it's an optional thing. Why is the government's duty, the government's work, literally, a optional thing that they can do or not do? Meanwhile, my responsibility, my duty is, my obligation is something that is a prerequisite for the government to give me the basic things that I need. Why? Where are we going with that? So yeah, that's a classic conflating the personal and individual with the systemic and structural, and saying that, oh, if people don't do this, then why will the system do that? It doesn't work like that. It doesn't really work like that. The second type of comments are the guys who are all up like, oh, well, actually, and yeah, wait, let me show you. It's this long ass nothing burger that says the premise itself is wrong, so everything that stands on top of it collapses. I'm sure this man felt so smart after commenting that. I'm sure it did wonders for his self-esteem. Yeah, I must have felt amazing to do that. Basically the comment is saying how this is just a stage of development, and if anything, gated communities are giving rise to the middle class, and then India will advance and this and that. I ain't read all that, because the first two sentences gave me enough to know why this is bullshit. I'll just read out my response to that comment. You can still see it on the video. Basically what this person has done is confuse two different paradigms, and that is why their premise falls short. This is because the actually guy is coming from a different lens altogether. He's talking from an economic perspective. Some would even argue he's talking from a capitalist perspective. Meanwhile, the guy whose video he's commenting under, the one stitched at the beginning of this video, is talking from a more socialist perspective, from a more social welfare and inclusivity perspective. So yeah, you can argue the shortcomings of this paradigm itself, of why social welfare does not work, of why socialism may not work. But what you cannot do is say that his arguments don't make sense just because you're fitting a different lens onto them, because you lack imagination, I suppose. You know what else this whole thing reminded me of? This tweet I had posted sometime around last week, when I saw somebody saying that acid attack is not that rampant in India, because agar statistically dekha jaye, nearly 1 million people die every day on the roads, which is like 3K a day and 100 every hour, which is not, like, population wise, that is normal. And I told this dude that the shitty infrastructure, corruption and lack of accountability that makes the number of road related accidents so high is not normal either. Indians just seem to have accepted as normal that they might step out of the house and not come back alive. Loser behavior.